following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Well, good morning. How are you this morning? It is Monday, the 11th of Feb, 2018. No, it's not, 2019. And between now and midday today, this is Adrian Kennedy, and this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. So, what have we got coming up on the programme today? Well, we're going to be asking, do we need new laws to prevent protests outside the homes of politicians? Yesterday, you may have heard this story. The home of Simon Harris, the Minister for Health, and Wicklow TD, his home in Greystones, had a protest outside it yesterday, much to the annoyance of many who believe that, yeah, you're entitled to protest. By all means, protest to your heart's content, but not outside somebody's own private home. And we're going to be asking how you feel about that a little bit later on. We were all brainwashed in school at about 20 to 11. We're going to be finding out just how brainwashed you are. What stuff have you memorised that you still have in your head to this day, even though it's probably of absolutely no use to you? We'll find out what we're talking about there a little bit later on. And also, a little bit later on, are you somebody who likes to have a drink on the train? Say you're going down to Killarney for the weekend. Do you like to have a couple of beers on the train or a couple of glasses of wine? I'll be hearing from one woman who's a little bit upset with, a gang having a few drinks on the train going to Waterford the other day. And, we'll hear her story. And there has been, and we'll be talking to Irish Rail a little bit later on, there have been restrictions on the sale of alcohol on trains on certain routes on certain days, primarily Fridays when people are going off on the piss for the weekend. But we're going to be asking whether or not alcohol should be just banned from trains full stop. We'll deal with that later on. And much more besides. We'll try and squeeze it all in between now and midday today. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Now, first off on the programme today, it's the topic that everybody is talking about. There are now calls to have a law put in place to prevent it from happening again. We're talking about the protests that took place yesterday outside the family home of Health Minister Simon Harris in Greystones in County Wicklow. Now, he has since spoken out and said that the protest had been frightening for him and his family. Bearing in mind the minister and his wife had a baby just a couple of weeks back, their very first baby. Now, the protest of the minister's Greystones home took place yesterday afternoon by a group calling themselves Fingal Battalion Direct Action Group. They've also issued a statement on their Facebook page, which I'm going to read in a second. But just for the record, we have invited this group onto the show twice in the last 24 hours, and they've ignored us. Doesn't say a lot to me. They've seen our messages. We've sent them messages. They have seen our messages and have decided for whatever reason to completely and utterly ignore our request to find out what their protest is all about. Anyhow, the offer is still there. If somebody from the Fingal Battalion Direct Action Group would like to talk to us, you're very welcome to. The offer is there. We have sent requests to you, and we would appreciate you at least saying no. Anyhow, the minister is due to apologise to the Dáil this week over information he provided on the cost of the Children's Hospital. The statement posted online by the protest group claimed it was against corruption, austerity and evictions, and alleged that Minister Harris had neglected his position. Let me read the statement that this group posted on their Facebook page yesterday. We're outside the home of Minister for Health Simon Harris. Since being given this position, he has completely neglected it. He's not even qualified for the job. We're all aware of the smear test scandal, thousands of patients on trolleys, medicinal cannabis bill, the extravagant cost of the new children's hospital, and the nurses' strike, which we fully support. Simon is a member of the Fine Gael party, the same party who voted for the eviction bill to be signed, and are aware of the hundreds of people that are sleeping on our streets every night. Today we launch the #BringItToTheirDoors campaign. We urge all groups all over Ireland to get involved. It can be your local TD, councillors, sheriffs, judges, anybody that played a part in bringing austerity, corruption, evictions on the people of Ireland. Let's bring it to their doors. They've brought it to our doors long enough. So that's a statement that that particular group issued yesterday. They read it to video outside Minister Harris's house. And we're asking whether or not that is an appropriate form of protest, to be protesting outside somebody's own family home. Some argue that if you want to have a protest, by all means, have a protest outside the Department of Health or the Minister's constituency office, or have a protest when he's at the launch of the opening of an envelope or whatever, but not outside his family home. And I'd like to hear from you on this. The lines are open on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp your opinion to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And I'd love to hear from you on this and find out whether or not you support this sort of protest outside a minister's own home, or is this going one step too far? One local TD who has hit out about this made these comments on Twitter. He said, "This is appalling, nasty stuff. Everyone is entitled to a private life. This isn't on and should be condemned by all who favour democracy." That statement was issued by TD Noel Rock, who joins me on the line. Noel, welcome to 98 FM.
Thanks for having me, Adrian.
Noel, fairly strong words from you on your Twitter yesterday. This is appalling.
Yeah, I stand by that. You know, I think these actions were disgraceful. I think they were thuggish. I think they were designed to intimidate a man, his wife, and his 3-year-old child. I think everybody's entitled, including you and Jeremy and all your team, to a private life as distinct from their public life. And I think this isn't the Irish way of doing things. There are plenty of ways to legitimately protest outside the Parliament, outside departments, at any event, any public event that a minister's attending, outside their constituency office. I've had protests outside my constituency office from time to time. You know, they're the right ways of doing things. Going outside someone's house on a Sunday, you know, you're kind of dragging people into it, his wife and his child, who have really nothing to do with it. And I don't think that's on.
Okay, they are calling their campaign Bring It to Their Doors. They say in their statement that they urge all groups from all over Ireland to get involved. It can be your local TD, councillors, sheriffs, judges, anybody who played a part in bringing austerity to Ireland. Their argument is, let's bring it to their doors. They've brought it to our doors long enough. I don't recall protesting outside anyone's front door or invading anybody's private life in my line of work. And I think you can see this is kind of it's kind of a far right kind of anti-democratic thing, like we see across Europe right now. You know, in their statement, and you read out their statement there in full, they say to go to the doors of politicians, county councillors, judges. They want to protest outside judges' front doors. These are all dangerous intimidation tactics that are designed to undermine democracy, in effect. And I know a few people have called for new laws to ban protests outside front doors. I don't necessarily think that's needed. I think we saw it's effectively a fringe group who were acting yesterday. And I'd hope that the Irish people will, dismiss this with their indifference to it and dismiss this with their silence. Now, I have to be honest, Noel, I'm somewhat surprised looking at some of the reaction on our social media pages that a lot of people actually support this type of protest. Are you surprised by that?
I think, you know, the kind of people who want to comment online about it will naturally be the most exercised people. I think normal people that I talked to yesterday, the vast majority on the streets and in restaurants and in the supermarket and what have you, were appalled by it. They don't like the idea that, you know, just because someone is doing the job, that their personal life is being disrupted by thuggish, intimidatory tactics. And I can understand that people are angry and people are upset by certain decisions that are taken from time to time. But I can't accept the idea that it suddenly becomes acceptable or even normal to be protesting outside a private citizen's front door. At the end of the day, yeah, I'm a public figure, I'm a politician, I work for the people. But I also have a private life behind that. I also cease to be a politician when I close my front door of my home.
Well, some would argue, though, some would argue, Noel, that for you as a TD, for Simon Harris as the Minister for Health, it's your job and all of that, but it doesn't really stop. It doesn't really end. You're always that person.
Yeah, and look, I take calls 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, and I took a call on Christmas Day from a woman who wanted advice where to buy a new turkey. You know, I mean, I'm always available to people for tasks big or small. But that said, you know, within the family home, within Simon's family home, is his wife and his 3-year-old baby. They didn't choose
3-week-old baby, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
3-week-old baby,
yeah.
Pardon me. Time moves fast, but not that fast. And, you know, they didn't choose to be in public life. They didn't choose to have a protest at their front door. And that's intimidation. You know, that puts a strain on a family. And just
to put in context how the Minister was feeling yesterday, this is a statement that he issued yesterday where he said, obviously my number one priority is the safety and the well-being of my family. It was obviously a very frightening experience for them. Thankfully, everyone is okay, but a little bit shook. And your argument is, by all means, have any protest you want in the right way, but the right way is not outside somebody's private family home.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Adrian. And, you know, yeah, today it's Simon Harris. Tomorrow it could be me. The next day it could be far left or far right people just targeting politicians that they don't like the look of, they don't like the sound of their policies. Where does that end exactly? You know, this statement said judges. They want to protest outside judges' front doors. What will that mean then? People who have maybe certain sympathies protesting outside a front door of someone because they have a trial coming up soon that they don't like the sound of. You know, it's a dangerous direction to go down if you extend the logic and continue down that road. And the question I'd ask, and I'd always ask, is if I were someone not in politics right now who was thinking about getting involved in politics or thinking about trying to be a public representative, would I look at this and just go, no, to hell with it? Like, you know, this is just not what anybody wants, really. You said you've had protests yourself outside your constituency office for whatever reasons.
How would you feel if that protest were to move outside your front door?
I'd be appalled. Because it isn't just about me then. You know, it's about my neighbours who are disrupted, who are saying, Jesus, we're sorry we live next door to this politician now. You know, he's disrupting our lives as well. We can't get out of the driveway. Our privacy's invaded. Our house is being videoed. It drags my other half into it then, which isn't nice either. You know, then suddenly there are questions inside the house as to, well, look, this politics thing, you know, it invades every aspect of our lives already. I can't believe we can't even have, you know, privacy inside our own home. It puts an awful lot of strain on people, I think, and makes them question. Do we need laws, Noel, to stop this sort of protest outside somebody's family home? I was thinking about this, I don't think it's a minute. No, because I hope this doesn't become a normal thing. If this is a once-off thing, I don't think there's a need to introduce a law. But if it becomes a regular thing, you can see how, you know, you have kind of pitched battles of people from different political persuasions protesting outside, effectively, each other's houses almost, in a bid to intimidate people. You know, you can see how people from the far right would start protesting outside people's houses if they were of a far left persuasion. This protest, I'm not really sure what exactly it was. It seemed to be just kind of against everything. And the banners just said Wicklow says no. No to what wasn't exactly clear. Yeah, no, it wasn't. But, you know, you can see how this kind of gets out of control potentially. But my hope would be, actually, it'll just be a once-off. Although this, like I said in their statement yesterday, this particular group, Fingal Battalion Direct Action Group, say that they urge all groups from Ireland to get involved in their hashtag Bring It to Their Doors campaign. But anyway, we'll wait and see whether that actually develops into a thing. Fine Gael TD, Noel Rock, thanks very much, Lee, for talking to us on 98 FM. And I would love to hear from you on this on 6797981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 08
0877 98 98 98. Now, I want to get a flavour of how you are feeling about this. Okay, so yesterday afternoon, a small enough group, was there even 15 people there, but they had huge banners and they stood outside the home of the Minister for Health, Simon Harris, in Greystones in County Wicklow yesterday. It was peaceful, there's no denying that fact. There was no shouting, there was no intimidation, although the Minister, in his statement yesterday, said it was a frightening experience for his family. Thankfully, everyone was okay, but a little shook. Here's the question I want to ask you. And I want you to simply text the word yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Just text the word yes or no. And the question is, do you support protests outside politicians' own private houses? Simple question. Text the word yes or the word no to 0877 98 98 98. Do you support these type of protests outside the family homes of politicians like the Minister for Health yesterday? Simply text the word yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. I'm very curious to know whether or not you support this type of protest. Like I said, it was peaceful. There's no denying that. But do you support the protest being held outside the minister's home or politicians' homes in general? Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Keep those votes coming in and I'll bring you the results of that in a couple of minutes. And Anthony, Jason and Owen, I'll take your calls straight after the break.
98 FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.
We're running a Dublin Talks text poll where we're asking you whether or not you support protests being held outside the private family homes of ministers or politicians, or as that statement from that particular group goes, calls for protests outside the family homes of all local TDs, councillors, sheriffs, judges, anybody that played a part in bringing austerity, corruption, evictions on the people of Ireland. Do you support protests like that outside individual family homes, like happened to the Minister for Health yesterday? Text the word yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Simply text the word yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. I'll give you the results of that poll in just a moment. Now, let's play this WhatsApp voice message.
Per usual, Irish people, they couldn't kiss Simon Harris's ass more when he was putting her through the abortion bill. There were banners, oh, brilliant, he's great. But then they turned their back on him. And now this isn't to do with just Simon Harris, it's also to do with like Leo Radker as well. It's just the Irish way. They seem to just turn their back on people. They get what they want. And then, when they hear something, they're like, oh no. Typical, huh?
Okay, there you go. Let me go to the phone lines. By the way, if you can't get near the phone, you can send us a WhatsApp voice message to 0877 98 98 98. Anthony, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Anthony?
Good morning, man. Good, thank you.
Anthony, do you support this type of protest?
I do, yeah.
Outside somebody's own private family home?
Absolutely.
With a wife and new baby inside?
Well, first and foremost, they're politicians. They're servants of the people who are the ones who elect them to the posts that they're holding at the moment. So they're accountable. And look at what has happened over the past weeks and months. Simon Harris is Minister for Health and he has presided over unprecedented nursing strikes and the largest over-expenditure in the state's history. Mm-hmm. It is expected that people will be outraged, and it is expected that there will be protests.
And there is absolutely no issue with that, and people are perfectly entitled to protest, but you say, as a minister, you say as a minister and a politician, he is accountable. And yes, you're dead right. And he is accountable to the point that if people don't like him, they can not vote him in the next general election. He can essentially be sacked from his job if people don't like him. He can no longer be a politician if people don't vote for him. That's very different to any other job. For example, if you don't like me, you can't vote me out of my job, but you can with him.
Yet the government is closing ranks around him. the Taoiseach and the Minister for Finance, even though he was asleep at the wheel and didn't inform anybody of the massive over-expenditure, they went on record as saying that, well, even though he didn't come forward and tell us, we would have told him to do what he already done. And that's the biggest cop-out that I've ever heard. He made a mistake, he made an error, and in some aspects I feel sorry for him. He's put into a job that he is not qualified to do. He doesn't have qualifications to hold the post as a finance minister or a health minister.
But sure, we did have a doctor in that post in the form of Dr. James Riley, and he was deeply unpopular as well. He was a doctor.
We're not talking about other ministers.
No, but you're saying he's not qualified. What qualifies somebody to be a minister for health?
Well, in this country, nothing. You don't need any qualification to hold it. All you need to do is be voted into government and have the Taoiseach appoint you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that system's not going to change anytime soon.
No, but the system is inherently broken when you have someone with that doesn't know what they're doing in charge of billions and billions of euro and expect to oversee so many other committees. He's on so many other committees as well. Okay, but
let me come back to the point about a protest outside somebody's private family home with a wife and child inside. Yes, people are perfectly entitled to protest, but is there not a time and a place? In other words, his constituency office, or outside the Department of Health, or at some public event that he happens to be attending?
I think the point is that people are so annoyed and so outraged that they thought that protests happen all the time in this country, and for the most part they're not really listened to. So people are thinking, well, you know what, people will start taking notice if it's outside a politician's residence. And to a point, I would applaud that view as well, because it's the only way to actually get their attention. I mean, if there wasn't any protests outside his house, would there be even any discussions on any platform today inside the media happening about the expenditure? Of course there would. It's one of the most talked about topics of recent weeks. But anyhow,
we were asking our listeners, do they support protests like this outside the private family homes of politicians? And 57% said... What do you think is a matter of interest? What did 57% say? Yes or no?
Me?
Yeah.
I think they would support it, yeah.
Okay, well, 57% said no, they don't support it. 43% said yes, they do support it, and that was a very high volume of text as well. 43% said yes, they do support it, but 57% said no. In other words, yes, protest to your heart's content, but the family home of anybody is their own private domain, and it should be left out in terms of protest. But stay there for a second. Chris, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Chris?
Morning.
Good morning, Chris. How are you? Now, do you support this sort of protest outside a minister's own home?
I think it's worth noting before I say anything, I do not support politicians. I don't follow any particular political party, and I don't like Simon Harris. But I do not agree with people protesting outside of somebody's home. It's not right. Where there's his wife and his new baby and stuff like that, you know.
Now, the argument there a second ago was, would we even be having this conversation today only for this group held a protest outside his house yesterday? In other words, it's brought it into public focus.
No, so the conversations have been had all the time. In you know, it's all over the media. It's a daily thing at this stage. You know, so yes, we would be still talking about it, and it's been highlighted every single day. Like, you look at the impact it could have. Like, it could have a negative impact. One, on his wife. You know, she's just had a baby there. She's going to end up getting postnatal stress over it. You don't know. And listen, it's not her fault if he's made a mess of things. You know, realistically, it's not. You have to be truthful about that. You know, new kid there. Could be in some politician cases. There could be older kids in the house. That affects everything. That affects their school, their worrying. You know, it's not right.
Okay, so much in all, as you support the right to protest, when it comes to that protest being outside the front door of somebody's private home, you're saying no.
It's wrong. Yeah, definitely it's wrong. And, you know, I don't like politicians. Don't like them, but I wouldn't stand outside their house intimidating their family, their wife and kids, you know.
And in fact, what the Minister said in his statement was, obviously my number one priority is the safety and the well-being of my family. It was obviously a very frightening experience for them. Thankfully, everyone is okay, but a little shook.
Yeah, it's not right. I don't agree with it.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Chris. It's not right, Pauline, no matter what you think of the Minister, no matter what you think of his policies or failures or whatever, protesting outside a family home is not right.
As long as there's no violent action, this protest is legitimate and it sends a message to the rest of them, Varadkar included, that he could have protests outside of his place. They're not listening, Adrian. These politicians are not listening. It's all very well marching with placards outside the door or government buildings. They do not care. They do not care about the public. The health service, all services in this country are shambles. Look at the nurses. Look at the way old people are treated in hospitals. Look at the situation that we have to put up with on a daily basis.
Okay, like I said, Pauline, we all understand the frustrations that people have, particularly with the Department of Health, with the nurses' strike, with the overrun in the children's hospital. The list goes on. And we fully understand people protesting about that. But bringing it down to the level of somebody's family home to have a protest, is that not a step too far?
No, it's not a step too far.
Okay, so then would you support... Hang on, Pauline.
He said his family were slightly shook up. What about the system that the people in the health system have to go through on a daily basis, the stress that we have to go under and to get anything done in this country, particularly in health? You know, if he's shook up, too bad. And I think we should have more.
Okay, but hang on, Pauline. If he's shook up, too bad. But he's also got a wife and a 3-week-old baby.
Well, then take
who were
them
in
out
the
of the
house.
house.
But they were in the house. They were in the house. They couldn't leave the house.
Well, and
you think that's right?
And did the police not come?
Yeah, they did eventually. Yes.
Well, let them take them out and keep them safe if he's worried about his family. I don't care about Simon Harris or his family. I care about my uncle, my father, my grandfather.
Well, okay, Chris, unfortunately and as uncomfortable as it might be for the Minister and his wife and his child, tough is really what Pauline is saying.
I'm surprised to hear that out of a woman of her age. I thought
Are you?
A bit more.
And what is my age?
You sound like a mature woman with the greatest of respect, you know. You don't.
Oh, yes, I'm a very mature woman. I'm sick to death of this country, the way we're being trampled on. And
you're not very mature. You're not very mature. Standing outside of somebody's house or encouraging it to your, even to your younger peers and telling them that's all right. That's not.
I'm not encouraging violence. I'm encouraging peaceful protest. I'm saying it's okay.
It's only a matter of time before it's violent.
Well, okay, let me ask you, Pauline, excuse me, in the statement from this group, and by the way, I have to put this on record again, this particular group, the Fingal Battalion Direct Action Group, have been invited by this programme and by other radio programmes and other media outlets to join in a discussion, and they have refused. They have point-blank ignored our requests to join us on this programme today, and not just this programme, other programmes on other radio stations. They've just said no. Now, to me, that's sorry, Pauline.
I think that's very, very remiss of them.
Yes, it is.
It's very, very. To come on radio.
In my opinion, it's a real chicken thing to do. I can't believe
I can't speak for them, Adrian. I can only speak as a citizen of this country that has had sickening and sick to my stomach and had enough of this government. And I mean,
and that's fine, Pauline.
Supporting him,
Pauline, that's fine. But the point that I made a while ago is we live in a democracy. If you're not happy with the way politicians are doing things, don't vote them in the next time.
Yes, it doesn't matter what you vote in, Adrian. They're all part of the same crap. They all have the same agenda when they get into a bit of power.
Well, sorry, Chris, just for 1 second, I want to just put this question to Pauline. In their statement, this group that we invited on the programme who've chickened out or decided not to for whatever reason, their statement said, we urge all groups all over Ireland to get involved in our Bring It to Their Doors campaign. It can be your local TD, councillors, sheriffs, judges, anybody that played a part in bringing austerity, corruption, evictions on the people of Ireland. Pauline, would you support protests being held outside the houses of TDs and councillors and sheriffs and judges?
Absolutely. If Simon Harris is fair game, the rest of them are too.
Okay, stay there for 1 second. Sorry, Chris, what were you saying there?
Like, what's it going to achieve? What is it going to achieve?
Send a message to them. It's going to perhaps
What message?
put a scare into them that people have had enough
A scare. So
of being walked on in this country.
So, Pauline, you said it there, put a scare into them. Now, as I'll outline, and I'll outline it again, I do not like politicians. I don't like them. I don't believe they do a good job in this country. And in particular, I don't like Simon Harris. All right? I don't like the guy.
I don't like any of them.
You said it there yourself. Put a scare into him.
I voted for none of them in that government.
Put a scare into his family, which is not right. So, they're saying that that they're trying to aim to have a peaceful protest. But yes, the long-term goal is to put a scare into them, to frighten them. That's not right.
I think a one-off protest, there's hardly going to be any more protests. Can I speak, Adrian?
Yes, go on,
Could
Pauline.
I say something? Sorry, Adrian, could I say something?
Go on.
I think a one-off protest, and Simon Harris, I can guarantee you there will be no more protests outside of Simon Harris's house because the police will be there in force. A one-off protest isn't going to make one iota of stress on his family.
You weren't in the house, Pauline.
Oh, come on, they'll get over it. For fuck's sake, excuse me, they'll get over it.
Okay, stay there for a second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Jason, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Jason?
Morning, Adrian.
Now, Jason, what did you want to say on this?
Well, I'm just trying to figure it out, where was you and Jeremy? You seemed outraged about all this.
No, I haven't even given... No, Jason. One second.
No,
I haven't given my opinion on this. I haven't given my opinion.
Let me say what I'm going to say. Where was your outrage when it was outside John Borton's house? Where was your outrage when it was outside Alan Chatter's house? This isn't the first time it's happened.
I'm aware of that. And if you... sorry, Jason.
This is the first time it's ever happened.
I didn't, because if you listened to our programme at the time, people were protesting outside John Burton's house. We talked about it on this programme. Okay?
You're making out right now. Even your man Noel Rock was making out that this had never happened before. It has happened.
It has happened. But the question we're asking today is it right? Is it right to have a protest?
When you enter politics, you enter public life, not private life. You're public then. End up. You've no expectation.
Okay, so do you support then, Jason? This is the where this group are heading. This is what this group want to do. Do you support the protesting outside people's front doors of local TDs, councillors, sheriffs and judges?
Yes. Well, I tell you why. Sheriffs and judges are almost the same thing down the country, okay? They're the same person. You take one hat off and put the other hat on. It's a conflict of interest, big time, with what they're doing. That's a whole different kettle of fish to what Simon Harris is. You know what I mean?
I do worry, Jason. I do worry if we start condoning protesting outside judges' houses, for example, for doing their jobs. Where does that
hang
stop?
On a second. If it's a conflict of interest, they're actually breaking the law in what they're doing. So you know what I mean? The judges are the ones supposed to be upholding the law, and yet they're breaking it.
Yeah, but I just wonder where does that end? You know, somebody gets a prison sentence and they're not happy with it.
It ends when they stop doing it. When they actually decide to actually do their jobs. You know what I mean? When Simon Harris actually does his job, people will stop protesting outside his house. We're paying him to do something. And yet, you're right, we can vote him out. How long is it going to take before you get a chance to vote somebody out? If I made the mistakes he made in my job, I'd be sacked in a day. Not 5 years.
All right, stay there for a second, Jason. Let me bring in one last call on this, and that's you, Owen. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Owen?
Hello. How are you doing? It's Alan, actually.
Oh, Alan. Sorry, my apologies. It says Owen on my screen.
No problem. I agree with everything that they're protesting about. I do. I agree with everything that they're protesting about. What I don't agree with is, look, first of all, I have a few points. First of all, let's talk about their name. The Single Battalion Action Group. That's an aggressive name. Well, bringing the word battalion into your name is aggressive.
And again, Owen, Alan, I have to put on the record, we have invited them several occasions in the last 24 hours to join in the debate on this programme, and for whatever reason they've decided not to. They've completely ignored us, and other media outlets completely ignored us.
I'll give you the reason why. I'll give you the reason why no one came onto the phone, because not one of them can string a sentence together. That's why. And another thing, accountability is not tantamount to home invasion. Simon Harris is obviously a lackey for what, a lot of corruption that goes on in the Irish government at the moment. But personal provocation and intimidation is a pure far right movement, and that's not peaceful protesting. Intimidation, standing outside someone else, is intimidation. That's personal intimidation, which they're saying is non-violent, but it's still an action. It's still a physical action.
And again, we have to recognise that it wasn't violent, it wasn't overly aggressive, there wasn't very loud chanting, certainly from what I saw in videos online, but it was directly outside the minister's front door.
Yeah, but there was no chanting or throwing of bricks, let's say, or whatever.
No, there wasn't, no.
Yes, until other groups joined that group, because they have welcomed with open arms other groups to join them. So when them other groups do join up, which will be very serious groups, I'm sure, with other vendettas that you have, will join up with that group under the name of the Single Battalion Action Group, and cause a lot of shit. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that lady is very naive. That lady there is very naive to think that this is all a peaceful protest.
Okay, it was yesterday, but the worry is, obviously, your point is, the worry is what next?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, interestingly, like I said, their campaign, their Bring It to Their Doors campaign, they're urging other groups to get involved. We'll have to wait and see whether or not other groups will get involved. But from our poll today, where we asked, do you support protesting like this outside the homes of ministers or politicians, outside their own family home, 57% of you said no, 43% of you said yes. Now, I'm going to read out just a few more of your messages that have come in on this. Let's just play this WhatsApp voice message first.
Adrian, this whole thing that his family were scared and shook up, that's absolute rubbish. What's scary about a few people holding a few banners across the road from your house? There's nothing scary about it.
Okay, nothing scary about it at all, says that message. This is totally blown out of context, says Anne. Kevin says we all have a right to protest, and if they know that their actions have accountability from the public, that their bosses won't hold them to, then so be it. Another message says, I agree with Pauline on 100%. The people are fed up with the government. The next protest should be outside the Taoiseach's home. And let me see. The statement from Simon Harris is nothing but the ramblings of a drama queen, says that message. All right. Thank you very much indeed for all of your calls, comments, texts and opinions. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Now, on the way after the break, were you brainwashed when you were in school? But the answer is probably yes. And we have proof straight after the break. Don't go away.
98 FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Our telephone number is 6797981. And Jeremy is here to talk about something that happened to all of us and we may not even realise it.
Yeah, the fascinating story in the news today. And I want you all to cast your mind back to when you were in secondary school. Okay, for some of you, it was 20 years ago. For some of you, it may have only been a couple of years ago. But a study out today that shows that students forget 95% of things they learn in school after they leave school.
95%?
95% of the stuff.
What's the point in going?
There probably was no point in going. But the 5% of stuff that we do remember from our school days is stuff that we had to memorise in school. And ex-students have been posting online different things that they had to memorise in school, but they can still remember years later. Now, for every single person listening at the moment, when you were in school, there's one thing that you remember from your school days that you were taught.
Yeah, I have one.
Isn't it? Okay, we're going to give it to you in a second. So we forget 95% of the stuff, the 5% of stuff, because school is brainwashing, isn't it?
Yeah.
They literally, your teacher tells you, that Patrick Kavanagh poem over and over again in the hope that you'll memorise it someday. Now, Adrian, what is the Patrick Kavanagh poem?
I don't know it.
Oh, you don't know it?
No.
Okay,
we want you to tell us what useless information did you get in school that was brainwashed into your head that you can still regurgitate all these years later. So you finished school, whatever it was, but you can still regurgitate whatever it is that you were brainwashed into learning.
So what they're saying here, the trick to doing this is you probably don't even realise you remember this thing. So what everybody's to do now, okay? Quiet now for the moment. Quiet in class, Adrian. Mm-hmm. Put your finger up to your lip. Think back to one of those school days. Think of a theorem or a mathematical equation or a geography thing or the first two lines of a famous sonnet. Do you even know what a sonnet is?
Yeah, I do.
You do know what a sonnet is. Think of it now. You got it in your head?
Mm-hmm.
Still there?
Yep.
Told you it was still there. What's yours?
Pi. 3.14159265, and it goes on and on and on. But I remember all those numbers. I don't even remember my own phone number.
Wow.
But I remember pi. 3.14159265, and it goes on and on and on and on. But I remember that I can rattle it off straight away.
Okay, so that's what you...
it's never been of any use to me ever in my life, but I still know those numbers, 3.14159265.
Okay, I'm going to check them here. So, Adrian, what's pi? Quick.
3.14159265.
Well done.
Yeah.
Okay, what else can you still memorise from your school days?
Fat Dad. Does anybody know what Fat Dad is?
No. I have no idea.
You've no idea what Fat Dad is?
No.
Oh, leave that sitting with you for a second. Fat Dad. Always remember it. I don't know why I remember it, but I do.
So this is something you have to memorise in school. Fat Dad.
Fat Dad, yep. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I can still rattle it off. Hey, let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
On Will Carragum go down letras Marsha the Hully. Bet into us. I'll never forget it.
And we all still know that.
Yeah, I still ask my wife for permission to go to the toilet when I'm at home. Yeah, I do. Okay, here's my two, Adrian.
Yeah,
my first one, it was a theorem. Remember you had to memorise theorems?
Yes.
And they'd say to you, now, go home and learn these 10 theorems and come back to me tomorrow. Now, my one, I've no idea what this means. I've no idea what theorem it is. I don't know how you put it into practice, but I can rack this off in the back of my brain. Adrian, the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the square of the other two sides.
Really?
What theorem is that?
I've no idea.
Do you remember that
I
as
obviously
well?
didn't take it in the way you did.
The square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the square of the other two sides.
No. Means nothing to me.
Okay, what about this
3.14159265?
No, but here's one. I also memorised how to work out the area of a circle.
Did you indeed?
Come on, how do you work out the area of a circle?
No idea.
Come on. Pi r squared. Do you not remember that from school? The area of a circle is pi r squared. So you take pi, which is
3.14159265.
Yeah, you get the radius of the circle, which is from the centre of the circle to the edge.
Yeah.
And then you square it. And that is the area of a circle. So you don't know how to work out the area of a circle?
No, I have no idea.
So the only thing
Italy got hungry, had a bit of turkey, dipped it in grease and fried it in Japan. Long-legged Italy kicked poor Sicily into the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. A poem we learned in geography back in primary school. Jean Craig.
What is that about?
I don't know.
Okay, so whether it's a quote, whether it's a theorem, whatever it is, we want you to rack your brains and let us know.
So what have you got inside your brain that you learned at school that's probably been of no use to you? 3.14159265.
Adrian, how do you work out the area of a circle?
The pi and the hypotenuse or something. I wasn't there that day.
No, you were missing that day.
Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Lads, why did they teach us algebra in school? I literally haven't seen it since I finished school 12 years ago. Haven't seen algebra in my whole life since then. Pointless.
Does that man even know what a hypotenuse is?
I doubt it. Carl, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Carl?
Adrian, how are you getting on?
Carl, what useless information did you get in school that you can still rattle off?
Ohm's law.
Ohm's law?
I was talking in science one day with junior cert, and he made me write it out 100 times, and I still remember it, and that's a good 20 years ago.
And what, by the way, is Ohm's law?
Not Ohm's law.
Ohm's law, yeah.
Ohm's law is a current that passes through a conductor that is directly proportional to the voltage between its ends, provided the temperature is constant. And that's in physics, and that was 21 years ago.
Adrian knew that, he was just testing.
Yeah, I did know that.
I still don't know what it is myself now, but I do remember writing out so many times, and my hand was second killing me. But I've never used it. I stopped doing physics after junior cert.
Well, I know that the headphones that I'm wearing are 400 ohm headphones, whatever in God's name that means. But the headphones I'm wearing right now are 400 ohm per speaker.
Well, it's the current through which the conductor between 2 points is directly proportional to the voltage across the 2 points, is it?
Oh, brilliant. Thanks. I thought that. And has this information ever been of any use to you in your life, Carl?
Not at all.
No.
Well, until
after that.
Until today, because you've now come across as very intelligent to 98 FM listeners.
Yeah, but he can't even explain it. He can just rattle it off. I can rattle off pi 3.14159265, but I've no idea what it is.
Doesn't matter. You don't need to know what it means. You were brainwashed.
Thank you, Carl. Mark, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Mark?
Good morning, Adrian. How are you?
Mark, what is... Fat Dad.
Fermanagh, Antrim, Tyrone, Derry, Armagh and Down.
Very good. The 6 counties of the north, that's how I always remember them, because I was taught it in school one day, and I've never forgotten it. Fat Dad.
Never forgotten, no.
There is a way of remembering the other 26, but I don't know what it is. But Fat Dad is how I always remember the counties of the north, so... well done, yeah, you're bang on. What were you brainwashed with that you've never forgotten? Laura's in Rathfarnham. You're on 98 FM, Laura.
Hi, good morning. How's it going?
Good morning, Laura. Laura, what can you rattle off?
So, I went to school in the States, and when we were about 14, we had to memorise the Gettysburg Address.
Now, this was a speech by Lincoln, was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, okay. I know that much, but...
Oh, yeah. So part of, we had to do oration towards the middle of the year, and for the love of God, it was honestly the worst thing, and I could only, do a little bit. So, 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth onto this nation, conceived in liberty, dedicated to the idea that all men are created equal. We're engaged in a civil war, testing that our nation...
Oh, I get it. She knows the Gettysburg Address. Sure.
It was awful, and everybody in the class had to stand up and be tested on it. Very American.
Something's just popped into my head from school. It's amazing because when you're talking about it, and do you know, Laura or Adrian, do you know what a fulcrum is?
I think.
Remember the fulcrum?
My mum used to say that. Yeah.
Oh, the fulcrum is it the middle of a seesaw?
I don't know.
Is it not? Is it not the balancing bit in the middle of a seesaw?
Laura, where would you find your fulcrum?
Honey, I don't know. I just heard of the word.
Probably in the Gettysburg Address.
Somewhere. It's probably in there somewhere. Am I right on that?
I don't know. It just popped into my head.
Oh, it's just a word.
No, remember in physics class, the fulcrum. The teacher would always say the fulcrum.
But you don't know what it is.
It's all about the fulcrum.
Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. We're talking about things that you learned in school that you've never forgotten, even though they're of absolutely no interest or no use to you. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. We'll take another couple of calls on this straight after the break. 98. Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98 FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Monday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. The Labour Court is to decide later this morning whether to formally intervene in the nurses' row. Talks between nurses and the government aimed at avoiding another 3 days of strikes over pay and working conditions ended just after 3 a.m. after 15 hours of negotiations. A decision on whether the strikes will go ahead tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday will be known later. There's been an increase in the number of teenagers looking for help from the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre. 175 people are on the waiting list for counselling from the national network of rape crisis centres. Social media is being blamed in part for the rise. And less than 2 in 10 of us are comfortable with how much of our data is stored by companies like Facebook and Google. New research from iReach has found 2/3 think it's wrong for the information to be used in targeted advertising. 93% say people should get more education on how tech giants use our data. And are you up to date on 98?
So Trish, we're talking about useless information that you've retained since you were in school. Yeah.
Okay.
That you can I can rattle off pi 3.14159265 and it goes on and on and on.
Oh my God, that's impressive.
Don't ask me why, but I can. Can you remember anything? The periodic table, do you know what that was?
I do know what that was, and Jeremy just did a few nitrogen. What was it? What was the first one again?
Do them in the order. Do them in the order which they appear on
hydrogen,
the table.
No, is it helium first or is it nitrogen?
The hydrogen's first.
Yeah. Hydrogen.
No, go on. You know you have it. Go on.
Beryllium.
Hydrogen.
Yeah, hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon.
Quite impressive. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Only because Jeremy reminded me.
And has that periodic table been of any use to you preparing 98 FM's news bulletins?
I think you know the answer to that.
Thanks, Trish. We're talking about useless stuff that you've retained in your brain.
And what even is beryllium? It seems very important because it's high up on the periodic table.
I don't know. Do you make nuclear bombs with it?
Trish, have you ever come across beryllium in your life?
No.
Brill cream, is it?
I don't know. Here's another WhatsApp voice message.
When I was in primary school, we had to learn a poem to remind us how to spell difficult. It's about the only thing that I can remember, and it's Mrs. D, Miss I, Miss FFI, Miss C, Miss U, Miss LTY.
Yeah, there. Difficulty. Sarah's in Balbriggan. You're on 98 FM. Hiya, Sarah.
How's it going? How are you?
Good, thanks, Sarah. Well, what do you remember?
It has to be my Irish verb. It was like lum lat leshle lin live low and a gummagut a grin a bit of
Oh, yeah.
I still no idea how I still retain that in my brain, but it does.
I know, it's bizarre because it was so drilled into you that obviously whatever way the human brain works, it just buried it in there and you can pull it out whenever you need to.
That's it, and it's still in my brain every day. It comes out, and I'm like, "Oh my God, where did that come from?" And well, not every day, but well, my kids go to an Irish school now, so it helps a little.
Very good. So give it to me again.
Lum lat leshle lin live low.
Yep.
And then a gummagut a gwyn a gwyn.
Cool. Very good. I love it.
Right,
thanks, Sarah. Let's go to Blanche next, and Michelle is on the line from Blanche. Hi, Michelle.
Morning, how are you?
Now, you have a poem in your head that helps you to remember the months of the year.
Yeah, and I still use it. 30 days, add September, April, June and November. All the rest have 31, except for February, all on its own, which is 28 days clear and 29 days in each leap year.
Very good. And
I still use it.
A little one that I remember is spring forward, fall back. And that's
I do that as well. Yeah, I do that as well. Absolutely. But I would actually stand there and recite that poem now if I'm actually trying to remember which one has 30 days and which one has 31.
Really?
Yeah.
So give it to me again.
30 days, add September, April, June and November. All the rest have 31, except for February, all on its own, which is 28 days clear and 29 days in each leap year.
Very good. I'm impressed. And spring forward, fall back is when is which direction the clocks change. In the spring they go forward, in the fall or the autumn they go back. That's how I always remember that one as well. All right, good to talk to you, Michelle. Thanks very much indeed. Where are we going next? To Perrystown, and Karen is on the line. Hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
What do you remember?
In school, the poem, now I can't remember who wrote it. The Whose Woods Are These? I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He would not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. And I remember you had to write like this 4-page essay on what it means. And they're going like, nothing.
Do you even know who wrote the poem?
Can't remember. But I just remember that bit of it. And it's just, nightmare.
Brilliant. Thank you, Karen. And finally, Eddie, you have a poem for remembering the names of the planets.
Yeah, do you remember the 9 planets in the solar system?
Well, they're still there.
Yeah, well, actually they're not.
They dumped one. Oh, yeah, they dumped one.
Yeah, in 2006 they found another planet called Eris, which was 27% bigger landmass, so they declassified it. Anyway, there was 9 planets, and it was... My very easy method just sums up 9 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto.
Give me that again. I never heard that one before. My
method sums up 9 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto.
Very good.
Always remembered it and never used it once.
That's the point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't...
One day on Eggheads or something, or the chase, it'll come up, you know?
Yeah. Brilliant. All right, fair play. Thanks very much indeed, Eddie. Let me just read out a few more of your messages. This, that, these, those, that's the way the TH goes. This, that, these and those, that's the way the TH goes. Somebody remembers from school. Lads, I've learned... Oh, no. Who's Joe Rogan? I've learned more watching the Joe Rogan podcast than I ever have in school. I must Google that and find out what that is. When I was in primary 43 years ago, Mrs. Courtney from St. Catherine's School in Cabra would sing the word difficulty. Oh, yeah, we had that a second ago. Mrs. D, Mrs. I, Mrs. F, F-I, Mrs. C, Mrs. U, Mrs. I-L-T-Y. Liz Murphy. Thanks very much indeed, Liz. And onomatopoeia. I always remember that word. I still don't know what it actually means, though. All right, thanks very much indeed for all of your calls. Stupid things that we remember from our school days that we may never, ever need again. This is 98 FM.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
I have a question for you, and it's very simple. Should the consumption of alcohol be banned from trains? If you're somebody who regularly uses the train, go down to Killarney or going down to Waterford or Sligo or Galway or whatever, this is a conversation you will be interested in. In fact, all of us use the train at one stage or another during a year. But is it time to have an outright ban on the sale and consumption of alcohol on Irish trains? I'd love to find out your opinion on this on 6797981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. I'm joined on the line by Jane Cregan from Irish Rail. Jane, welcome to 98 FM.
Thanks a million, Adrian.
Jane, what is the policy? Because I know of late there's been some restrictions on the sale of alcohol. What is the current policy with regard to alcohol?
Our current policy is that on intercity services, the sale and consumption of alcohol is permitted, but there are exceptions to that. There are some services on Fridays and Sundays to Waterford, to Galway and to Westport. Those services are alcohol-free. Then in Dart and commuter services, alcohol is prohibited at all times.
Okay, so there are some restrictions on a Friday and a Sunday on services to and from Waterford, Galway and Westport.
Yes.
Okay, now, with the exception of those particular services on Friday and Sunday, the sale and consumption of alcohol is perfectly legal.
Yes.
Why did you need to bring in some restrictions on a Friday and a Sunday on those routes?
Because we had situations where we had antisocial behaviour occurring that was related to excessive alcohol consumption. So we made the decision that we wanted the vast majority of our customers to enjoy their trip with us without being subject to people who may be overindulging.
Okay, now one of our listeners contacted us, Bernice is her name, and she is annoyed at a group on it. Now, she didn't make a complaint about it, but she's annoyed over a group on the train to Wexford the other day, and they were drinking alcohol and everything else. Is it a case that you'll review this as you receive more complaints about antisocial behaviour?
The reason that we would have taken the decision to make some of those services alcohol-free is a direct response to customer feedback and also to feedback from our staff who may have been subject to threatening or abusive behaviour due to people overindulging in alcohol. So I suppose Bernice and anybody else like that who has had bad experiences, we need to get that feedback and then we can make decisions then if we are to make services alcohol-free. But what I would say, Adrian, I suppose, is the vast majority of people who travel with us who want to enjoy one or two drinks do so without doing any harm to anybody else. So I suppose we have to be careful of balancing that the whole idea of going on the train is that, if you want to relax and have a drink, you can have a drink, you're not driving, all of that. So we have to balance that, but I suppose it says a lot for us as a society that we do have people who think, I'm going away for the weekend, I'll buy 24 cans and
I'll get steaming drunk. Yeah, okay. So Fridays and Sundays on certain services to and from Waterford, Galway and Westport, you have restricted, you're not selling alcohol.
We don't sell alcohol, and also we will prevent people from bringing alcohol on board those services as well.
Okay, so if I get on the train and my wife has a little bottle of wine in her bag and we crack open the little bottle of wine, is somebody going to come and take it off me?
Yeah, there's security on board all those services, and they will take alcohol off people who are, because we have it very clearly when you're booking online and also at the station, we have information up about services that are alcohol free. So we would have that, and some of these services have been alcohol free for a number of years.
some people believe that, rather than have the odd service alcohol-free, that it's time we just made all Irish Rail services alcohol-free, end of, then there's no confusion.
Yeah, I wouldn't really agree with that, to be honest with you. I mean, from the feedback that we get, say if you're on board and you want to have something to eat, it's a Friday evening, you're going home, you might like to have a glass of wine. I think, there's no reason. I suppose it's the same as if you're on a flight. In some ways, you may be going off for the weekend, you might just want to kick back and relax. I think banning alcohol from all intercity services, I think probably is a step too far. Obviously, where there is an issue, we're very much stepping up to the mark to remove alcohol from those services. But the vast majority of people who travel with us can enjoy and drink responsibly and don't impact on anybody else.
Okay, now, by contrast, we had a complaint from somebody giving out yards that on the train to Waterford 2 weeks ago, they weren't allowed to have a drink and they thought it was ridiculous. They just wanted to have a glass of wine.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, well, that's what we have to balance. We have to balance people's enjoyment of alcohol responsibly with those people who unfortunately don't enjoy it responsibly and, negatively impact on other people.
Jane Cregan from Irish Rail.
Sorry, Adrian, if I could ask you one question. It's not related to this, but just while I'm on with you, and obviously you have a very big listenership, that we're currently looking for people with accessibility needs, so mobility or visually impaired people who will be involved in an app. I know you've dealt with this before, where we've had issues with people who require assistance, but we're looking for people to be involved in a pilot on that. So if anyone who is listening to you who is visually impaired or mobility impaired who travels regularly by DART, if they could get in touch with us, accesspilot@irishrail.ie or 01703 4837. We'd be very much appreciated, because we need to get the feedback to make sure that we provide a good service as possible.
Okay, so it's 01703 4837
or accesspilot@irishrail.ie.
Access Pilot. Okay, so this is a new app you're developing, is it?
Yeah, we're developing an app because currently we have the situation where we have hub stations where you ring the station and then somebody will come and assist you if the station is unmanned. Whereas this now, if you log on to the app, you will be able to request the assistance and then you will get a response to confirm that a person will be with you at the station that you have chosen at the time that you require the assistance.
What a fantastic idea. Okay, so you're trialling that at the moment, are you?
Yeah, but just we're finding it difficult to get enough people, because we need to have a good number of people to make sure the trial is accurate and that we can get as much feedback as possible. So if there's any of your listeners or any of their friends or relations who regularly use the DART who do require assistance, we'd be delighted if they'd get involved.
Okay, so the phone number again is 01703 4837 or Access Pilot.
Accesspilot@irishrail.ie.
Very good. All right, thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Adrian.
Accesspilot@irishrail.ie is the email address. If we have all that information for you. Somebody who uses the services for assistance at train stations, please do get in touch with them. Now, that's just a little by the way. So the question is, should the sale of alcohol be restricted on trains? As you just heard from Jane, Irish Rail said from October the 12th last year, it will cease alcohol sales on the following trains. The move affected the Friday 11:25, 1:25 and 3:35 services from Dublin to Galway, as well as the 2:45 service from Dublin to Westport and Mayo. Bans are already in place on the 1 o'clock service from Galway to Dublin, and a range of services to Waterford from Dublin on Fridays and Waterford to Dublin on Sundays. So there are restrictions in place because us Irish people can't behave ourselves. Actually, that's not true. A tiny percentage of us Irish people can't behave ourselves. One of the reasons that we mention this today is a mail that we received over the weekend from a lady called Bernice. And if you want to mail us about anything that you'd like us to bring up on the programme, Dublin Talks at 98fm.com is our email address. Dublin Talks at 98fm.com. Anyway, Bernice wrote to us, guys, I had a very unpleasant experience on a train from Dublin to Wexford last week. I was bringing my daughter to Wexford to visit relatives. In our carriage, there was a group of young men who started drinking in Dublin and became very rowdy. My 6-year-old felt very intimidated and there was nobody to complain to. They were being served alcohol at the trolley and also brought their own drink on board. It made the journey horrible, and to be honest, I don't see why they can't ban alcohol on our trains. This train was like a moving pub. I won't use a train again until this is addressed, says Bernice. Now, obviously, the Wexford train isn't one of the trains with restrictions on alcohol, like the other ones to Waterford and to Galway and to Westport and Mayo. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Here's the reality of this. This is a tiny minority of people who can't behave themselves with alcohol on a train. The vast majority of us can get onto a train, have a glass of wine or even 2 glasses of wine and behave ourselves perfectly well. If you regularly use the train, I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. But the question is, after hearing Bernice's message, should we ban the sale of alcohol on trains? Simple. We're back in just a moment.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. So I want you to imagine this situation. You're heading off on your stag weekend or your hen weekend, or you're just heading off down to Killarney for the weekend, and you want to start your weekend with a couple of drinks on the train. How would you feel if a total ban were to be introduced on the sale and consumption of alcohol on board all trains? Do you think that this is a step too far? As we've already been hearing, Irish Rail already have restrictions in place on a number of services, both to and from Galway, Westport and Waterford. So that kind of takes in Kilkenny, takes in Waterford, takes in anywhere between here and Westport. And we're asking whether or not you support that. Is this a good idea to ban the sale of alcohol off all public transport? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And I also want to find out how you would feel if you were told, sorry, the train you're on, you cannot drink on it. Would you be happy with that, or would you be annoyed with that? Call me right now on 6797 981. Let me go to line 2, and that's you, Peter. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Peter?
How's it going, Adrian?
Good, thanks, Peter. What do you want to say on this?
The way I see it is, like, again, we're not talking about bleeding teenagers or kids here. We're talking about grown adults acting like bleeding children and stuff on a train. The way I look at it is, if you were that drunk, or you were half cut and acting like that and tried to walk onto an aeroplane, what would happen? You wouldn't get onto the aeroplane and your whole weekend would be ruined. So the same thing should happen. Anybody who's pissed out of their head, like, I don't mind someone going down the train having a sing song and all, having a bit of crack, but somebody who's being just roaring and shouting and being aggressive and all, have the security at the next stop, escort them off the train, and make sure the security in the next station doesn't let them on the train. Let them get a bus, air and bus to wherever they're going or back to Dublin. And in that way then their weekend will be ruined, and they'll learn not to be acting the maggot on the train.
Now, in fact, we did hear from Irish Rail a couple of minutes ago, Jane Cregan was saying that some of their staff have been attacked, have been, I won't say assaulted, but...
So remove them from the train. Remove the threat from the train, and then anybody else who in that party who's acting the maggot will realise, Jesus, keep her up, lads, and we're not going to Kilkenny for the stag or Waterford for the stag. We're getting kicked off. And that ruined the weekend for them before they even get there, and make them realise. Do you know what I mean? When you're on you have to act civil. Do you know what I mean? You can't be threatening people. You don't mind, you see videos of people on buses and on trains now, having lads going down and girls going down and having a sing song. You don't mind that. That gets a bit of crack on the train or whatever. But people threatening other people just because they're so pissed out of their head, you haven't even got there yet. Do you know what I mean? And then
so why not do what would be very simple, and that is just simply ban alcohol from trains? Then there's no complication about it.
Yeah, but so that's the case then. Well, there's loads of hassles in emergency rooms on the weekend because people are drunk. And that's the case then. Why don't we just ban alcohol? Because I say a few people can't drink it without acting the bollocks and hitting people and stuff. But the majority of us can go out and have a few drinks and have a good time and go home and go up the next day and all of that. Do you know what I mean? And again, under that pretense, and well, some people get cancer from cigarettes, ban all cigarettes. You have to let people, like, what they're doing at the moment of restricting the sales, that's a good idea. But if it keeps up, kick them off the train. Like, why can't I go down, me and my missus go down the train, have a drink on the way down, and be civil on the way down, and have a drink on the way? All because of a group of lads or a group of boards want to wreck the place. Do you know what I mean? And ruin it for everybody. So just kick them off the train and ruin their weekend.
Right, okay, stay there for 1 second, Peter. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. We're talking about, a message from Bernice. And here's what Bernice said. Guys, I had a very unpleasant experience on a train from Dublin to Wexford last week. I was bringing my daughter down to Wexford to visit relatives. In our carriage, there was a group of young men who started drinking in Dublin and became very rowdy. My 6-year-old felt very intimidated and there was nobody to complain to. They were being served alcohol at the trolley and also their own drink on board. It made the journey horrible, and to be honest, I don't see why they can't ban alcohol on our trains. This train was like a moving pub. I won't use the train again until this is addressed. Now, you said, Bernice, in your message that there was nobody to complain to, yet you're able to say that they were served alcohol from the trolley. Why didn't you complain to the person who was serving the alcohol from the trolley? Would that not have made a bit of sense? No? Okay. Cadet, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Cadet.
Hiya.
Now, Cadet, what did you want to say on this?
Yeah, I don't believe in banning the drink from the trains. You can have a good time on the train, enjoy yourself, fight, and you can get a laugh. But I don't believe in violence and rowdiness.
No, but obviously...
There's a difference.
Yeah, and I mean, the reality of it is that most people will say, well, I behaved myself on the train. We're not going to get somebody admitting, well, I was a rowdy mess on a train, because people don't admit that. But it seems kind of simple that the way around this is to just ban it.
No, I think, not ban it. I mean, as I heard one young fella said today, like, you get a few assholes, the tugs, that has mouthy. But you do get a good few people on the train, and you will get a laugh out of them, and it breaks that journey. But I can understand the girl being upset with the child, being rowdy in front of the child. I can totally get that. But I wouldn't say ban the drink because of a few assholes.
And it is only a few.
A handful.
Yeah, it is, I agree. And in fact, Irish Rail have said the same thing, that it is only a few. But that few is enough to ruin a bloody journey for you.
Yeah, because you can get too mouthy. You know what I mean? I mean, as an adult, you can just sit there and read. But with a child like Gecko, it can be frightening. And they probably wearing talks. They're probably just too loud and too rowdy. You know what I mean? Too loud. And frighten the child. I get that. She should have just moved. Get up and move into another carriage. Move away from the situation instead of staying there.
Now, I don't know how full the train is. It mightn't have been that easy to just move.
Yeah.
If the train...
sure, she could have asked the girl that delivered it, and can I move to another carriage?
Yeah, I don't know what the situation was there, to be quite honest with you. But okay, as far as you're concerned, there is no need to ban the sale of alcohol from the trains.
No, because you do get a laugh with some of the Dublin fellas and the women and the things you come out with. You'd be cracking up laughing. But it's only a handful of idiots
who ruin it for everybody. Yeah,
that ruins it for everyone.
All right, Colette, thank you. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Just in relation to the drinking ban on the train, it's the same old story where people ruin it for other people. I mean, I don't mind having a couple of cans on the train and having a bit of crack, a game of cards, but other people do it to excess. And unfortunately, you're a shrine. We're probably left with nothing else to do but to ban it, So that's it.
All right, thanks very much indeed. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. And if you can't take a phone call, you can send us a WhatsApp voice message, just like that man did and just like this person did.
Why don't they just put on certain carriages for drinking only and non-drinking carriages so people can choose wherever one they want to sit in?
Yeah, I don't know how practical that is, to have drinking carriages and non-drinking carriages. Although, back in the day, you would have smoking carriages and non-smoking carriages. So, maybe, carriages that you can have a drink and carriages that you can't have a drink. Angela, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Angela?
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Angela, you fully support the ban on the sale and consumption of alcohol on trains?
Absolutely. Here we go again, the usual. Can't get on a train without having a drink. Can't go to a match without having a drink. Can't get on a plane without having a drink. For God's sake, like, seriously. If it is causing disruption, ban it. Totally.
Okay, now it is causing some disruption, and Irish Rail have put restrictions in place on the Waterford, Galway and Westport trains on Fridays and Sundays because it was a bit of an issue. So do you think they should extend that ban?
Yeah, extend it, ban it, the whole lot. You have to have a serious problem if you cannot get onto a train for a couple of hours and have to have a drink, no matter where you're going, no matter what you're doing. You know, if you're going to a stag, if you're going to a hen, for God's sake, if you can't have 2 or 3 hours on a train, sometimes it's less without having a drink, you've got a problem. Okay? Do it when you're off the train. These are public transport that are in confined places. And once you have a couple of drinks on board, you don't care. I know that woman was saying, we get a great laugh. You know, but what about the people who don't want to sit and listen to that? And to say, she should have moved, or why should she have moved?
Yeah, I know, but people are saying, lighten up, for God's sake. It's only a couple of hours.
Hold on a second. It's only a couple of hours. So if you're sitting on a train and there's drunken louts around you, 2 hours is a very long time. And why can't you turn around and say it's only a couple of hours, that you don't have to have that drink? So I'd say ban it.
Okay, what do you say to that? We're only talking about a couple of hours. What difference does it make if you can't have a drink?
She'd have her down at a party, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
No. Hold on. You do not get onto a train. You do not get onto a train to have a party.
What a burden has become. Will you stop out with that? Will you, for God's sake? What are you going to do? Ban everything?
But hang on, Colette, nobody is talking about banning alcohol or anything like it. It's where we can consume it. Tynan, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Tynan.
How's it going?
Good, thank you.
It fascinates me, Adrian, why this country is so obsessed with alcohol. We obsess about it. Like, can you not get on the train and go for a couple of hours without having a drink?
Yeah, lots of people can.
Yeah, but we're obsessed, and people get out stink because they can't have alcohol, and why do I have to give up my drink? And it's a real obsession, and I find it hilarious because foreign people will look at us going, bloody Irish, they can't live without a drink. And here we are, we're discussing about alcohol yet again because we can't refrain from it. It's amazing. It's an obsession within the country. You know, and if someone dares suggest that alcohol can't be consumed, like we wouldn't get onto a Dublin bus going home in the evenings and knock back a few cans. It amazes me how people are so obsessed with alcohol.
Okay, so do you believe that we should have a ban on the sale and consumption of alcohol on all trains?
Yes, I do. I think it would be much more courteous for everybody, especially when there's children involved.
Okay, now, the vast majority of people are able to get on a train, have a couple of beers or a couple of glasses of wine and behave themselves impeccably. Why would you want to take that away from somebody who's actually able to behave themselves?
Because at the end of the day, we're not all responsible. It is a select few, and at the end of the day, I don't see why we have to obsess about having to have a drink. It's a real Irish mentality, you know, get on a plane, have a drink, go to the airport, have a drink, get on a train, have a drink. You don't have to have a drink.
No, so of course you don't have to, but I could argue with you that it may not be for you, and it may not be what you like to do, but other people do.
Oh, no, I totally get it, and don't get me wrong, I love a drink. But I think when it's interfering with, if I'm paying, I mean, it's actually quite expensive to get a train. If you're on a train and you're sitting beside, because the train's full, you're sitting beside a bunch of rowdy guys drinking on a way to a stag, I don't want to have to spend 60 or 80 quid on a return train journey to have to listen to drunk people. It's not particularly pleasant. And if I've got children with me, I don't want to expose children to that. So I think it's just the easiest and fairest way of banning it across the board.
Okay, what about the suggestion of having carriages where you can drink and carriages where you can't?
Yes, that could be a perfect solution. And I suppose it goes back to the smoking thing. You know, we used to be able to smoke on trains. We used to be able to smoke on planes. We got rid of it because it was inconvenient for everybody. It wasn't for everybody. I think that's where it's going to end up going with alcohol. But yeah, that could perfectly work. Have a train that's suited for stags and let them sing and drink and do whatever they want. But when you know, it's a public service and it is open to children, and I don't think if you're stuck in a carriage, I mean, a lot of trains now you have to pre-book a ticket, so you're pre-booking seats, so you've no choice about who you're surrounded by. So maybe that is the perfect solution: having an alcohol carriage.
Okay, now somebody else just sent us a message. People who are for banning alcohol on trains must not drink.
Well, I do drink. Right. I love a glass of wine.
Okay, so that's not the case. And Angela, do you drink as a matter of interest?
I do drink, and I love having a drink, and I love going out, and I love having a great time. I love going to parties. I love all of that. But the thing is, if I get on a train, it's not a party train. And I actually don't think that having a carriage for drink will work, because what's going to happen is, let's say you have 2 or 3 stag parties and only 2.5 of the stag parties get on. You're going to have them travelling in and out and in and out. That won't work. I honestly don't think it would work. Just because you don't agree with drinking on planes, trains and automobiles does not mean that you're dry or you're boring or you don't drink. That's it. Once again, as that Tynan, I think his name was, as he is saying, it's this whole mentality of everything comes down to drink.
No, I agree that it is a conversation we Irish have far too frequently, had the truth be known. But is it not why should somebody who is well able to behave themselves be punished for the idiots who can't?
Because I can guarantee you, the one person who is able to control their drink and have a good time will turn around and go, oh, sure, I can wait the 2 hours before I have a drink, rather than drinking in the pub inside in the train station, getting cans to go on it, and then drinking off the trolley as well. It's the same with planes. It's public. You're interfering with everybody else on the train. So just... The answer to that is ban it. What's the big deal?
Okay, what is the big deal about banning alcohol? Actually, let's do a very quick poll and see whether or not people would be bothered about this. So simply text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. And the question is, should alcohol be banned from trains? Simple question. Just text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. And the question is, should alcohol be banned from trains? It's a simple question. All you have to do is answer yes or no and send your answer to 0877 98 98 98. Should we ban the sale and consumption of alcohol from our trains? Siobhan, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Siobhan.
Morning, Adrian. How are you?
Tell me about your mother's experience on the train.
It was so funny. So they were heading down to Waterford. So it was my mother, my mother-in-law, and my aunt. So they were on the train, and my mother was teaching them how to text message. And they were all laughing, saying, oh, I don't know how to do it. And there was lads sitting across from them. They were having a few drinks. They were lovely. And they thought it was the best crack ever. They entertained. My mother and my auntie and my mother-in-law entertained the boys. They were having a few drinks. They were grand. My family were just having a cup of tea on the train. But they thought it was brilliant.
Okay, so they were lively but good crack.
Great crack, not a bother. My family were they ended up being friends and whatever on the train, and it was brilliant.
Now, the lady who sent us the message in the first place had a very unpleasant experience with a gang on the train. And obviously, this is a big issue because Irish Rail have already banned it on certain Friday and Sunday routes to Waterford, Galway and Westport.
Well, do you know what? There is the buckos that are a little bit silly, but the lads that were sitting opposite my family entertained them. They just thought they were brilliant and they had a great time. But 2 hours down on a train, was it?
Yeah, and not a bother. They enjoyed it.
Not a bother, yeah. All about texting.
All right, fair enough. Let me read this message. Look at all the addicts out of their head on the Lewis. That causes mayhem, and they're already out of their head before they get on it. I think that's a bigger issue than the issue of alcohol on trains. Well, it's already illegal to drink alcohol on the Lewis and on the Dart. It's just the intercity trains that we are allowed, and in fact it is sold. So we've been asking the question, should the sale of alcohol be banned from trains here in Ireland? And let me give you the results of this poll. Bear with me now for 1 second while the computer just works it out. So, yes or no, should the sale of alcohol be banned from trains? 52% of you in our poll said yes. 52% said yes. 48% saying no, but a majority in favour of a complete ban on alcohol on trains. One last call on this, and that's you, Lydia. You're on 98 FM. Hiya, Lydia.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Now, what did you want to say on this?
I just don't think it should be banned because there's no point, really. I think that the guy who had the idea of separate carriages would be a better idea, because if you ban it completely, like, some people just want to have a glass of wine on a 3-hour journey down the country, so I just don't see a point in banning it.
Okay, but the argument is, from a lot of people, my God, if you can't go on a 3-hour train journey without having a drink, you've got issues.
No, you can. You can go on the journey, but it's just like some people like to have a bar of chocolate or a coffee, other people like to have a glass of wine. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, a treat while you're on your journey reading your book or whatever. It's
I know, but if you have 2 Mars bars, you're not going to start causing antisocial behaviour.
No, you won't, but that's what I mean. Like, people could have 2 glasses of wine and not start causing antisocial behaviour. But, it's just, I don't know, I just think it's preference. Like, some people just treat it as a treat, not as something to go and get drunk on. Other people do, but they're just the people abusing it. Like, maybe if they had a kind of 1 drink rule, and that you're not allowed, or 2 drink rule, and you're not allowed to bring your own drink on the train, because people don't really...
I just think that's very difficult to enforce. As somebody texted in a couple of minutes ago, sure, if they ban alcohol from trains, you just pour your vodka into your bottle of Coke before you get on the train. How are they ever going to police that?
Yeah, true. Well, they'd have to have people going up and down the trains, like, I don't know, more security on the trains or something like that. But most people who actually, like, when I'm on the train, they actually sell out on the cart pretty quickly. So they don't actually stock the cart full enough to be getting everyone drunk on the train. So it is, the problem, I think, is people bringing their own alcohol on, which would be not really hard to police if they just had more security on the trains.
All right, but no to banning the sale of alcohol on trains?
No, definitely not.
All right, Lydia, thank you very much indeed. And she's kind of going against the grain, because 52% of you in our poll said yes, we should... 52% said yes, we should ban the sale of alcohol on trains, but 48% of you who like to have a little drink on the train said no. And let me just play one more WhatsApp voice message.
We go on the Sandy train, the steam train, every single December, and it's packed with kids, and everybody has mulled wine. Well, the adults do, wine and a couple of beers. Everybody has a great time, sing song, everybody gets on laughing and gets off laughing. If it's policed properly, it could be sorted out, instead of mindless people wanting it all banned.
All right, thank you very much indeed for your message. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. On the way after the break, if you were listening to the programme earlier, you will have heard us talk about the protest outside the Minister for Health's house in Greystones yesterday. Well, the organisation behind that protest, the Fingal Battalion Direct Action Group, have, finally made a statement to us. They've given us a statement about that protest outside the Minister's house yesterday. I'll have that for you straight after the break.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.
Morning, this is Adrian Kennedy, this is 98 FM. Now, earlier on in the programme we spoke at length about the protest held outside the home, the private family home of the Minister for Health, Simon Harris, yesterday in Greystones in County Wicklow. And we discovered from that conversation that 57% of our listeners do not support that type of protest, bringing it to the front door of a family home. Anyhow, we had invited on several occasions the organisation behind this protest, who style themselves, what's the name? Some stupid name. The Fingal Battalion Direct Action Group. That's what they call themselves. Anyhow, they have finally issued us with a statement about the protest yesterday, which I want to read to you. I feel privileged to get this. Thanks very much, lads, for providing us this. I do think standing behind a statement and not coming on the radio to debate it is a bit cowardly, but anyhow, we'll deal with that. We might entice you to come on. Anyway, here's what they said. We've been inundated with messages from the media looking for a statement. Yesterday, Sunday, the 10th of April, the Fingal Battalion and the Anti-Eviction Flying Column had a peaceful, dignified demonstration outside the Minister for Health's home. We understand Simon has released a statement stating he was scared for his family. Firstly, we attended his home yesterday in solidarity with all the families affected by and left scared by Simon and his party on a daily basis. Whether it's with the smear test scandal, patients left on trolleys, or many of the other situations him and his party have put the people of Ireland through. Secondly, the videos on our page, you can clearly see nobody was even inside his front garden. All protesters were standing outside on a public street. We spoke with the Gardaí and they had no issues with what we were doing. His claims against us are completely false. At no stage did we enter his property or grounds or obstruct access to or from his home. And that is from the organisation that styles itself the Fingal Battalion Direct Action Group. I still maintain that we need to have a conversation with this particular group because they are urging other groups to do the same. They've started a campaign called Bring It to Their Doors, where they're urging people to do the exact same thing. And I would, again, ask that organisation actually engages in a debate about this rather than just issuing the same statement that she issued yesterday. So that's the challenge to you, if anybody is able for it. Anyway, there you go. That's the statement from that organisation. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks, and for the final time, we've a bit of love in the air. Or actually, we don't. Had the truth be known. This Thursday is Valentine's Day. And 98 FM has teamed up with the Radisson Blu Hotel in Golden Lane to treat you and your partner to an overnight stay this Thursday night. You'll relax in the stylish city centre hotel with breakfast and dinner in the elegant V&V restaurant, where executive chef Tommy Butler has created a special Valentine's menu. And what we're looking for, or have been looking for over the last few days, is people who are just brutal Valentines. They either forget it or they don't do anything for it. And 2 people on Thursday will be treated to this very, very special night out to make up for all the years of you being crap. Paul is first on the line. Paul, welcome to 98 FM.
Hiya.
Paul, you have been with your partner for nearly 10 years.
Nearly 10 years, yeah.
And what do you do, or what have you done, or what have you not done for Valentine's Day over those years?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I just think it's a money racket. That's what I say. It's a money racket. Created by an American card company to try and sell cards. So.
You see, I always think the people who say it's a money racket are just tight, are just miserable.
Probably, yeah.
and it's a good excuse to say it's a money racket.
No, it's not. It goes beyond that. Even when she kind of, when she says to me she loves me, I just say ditto. I have a tattoo on the side of my arm that says ditto, so I don't even say that to her.
Jesus. So you don't do romance?
Not really, no.
You see, I don't know if you know this, Paul, but some ladies actually like a bit of romance.
She does. That's why she needs a medal for staying with me for so long, to tell you the truth.
Oh, really?
She is like that. You know, she just kind of, you know, she tries all the time, tries to get me to do stuff, but I just don't know why. I just don't do it.
So there was one time you did get her a Valentine's card, which was what?
Well, I didn't. Her mother got a card and gave it to me to give to her.
Your mother-in-law gave you a card to give to you, she gave to you to give to her?
Yeah, because she knows how much she likes that.
What would it mean to her, Paul, if we were to give you this lovely prize for her night?
Probably mean the world, because like even on our wedding day, I kind of ruined our wedding day. I thought it'd be funny. I watched these videos on YouTube, people putting, so I hit her in the face with the wedding cake on our wedding day. So, God. It's just...
God, it'd serve you right if she doesn't even bring you on Thursday should you win this competition.
Yeah, probably. It'd probably do her good to get away from me for a couple of hours.
Paul, we'll be announcing the winner of this competition tomorrow, so thanks very much indeed, and we'll be in touch with you.
No bother. Nice
Cheers,
to meet you.
bye-bye. Next we go to Megan. You're on 98 FM. Megan, how are you?
How you doing?
Megan, you're the brutal romantic. How come?
Because last year I ate my boyfriend Valentine's sweets before I got to give it to him, and I did the same this year.
So sorry, you did what?
I bought his chocolates and I ate them all, so I couldn't give them to him last year. And I did the same this year.
Did you ever even get a card?
I give him his presents, he just doesn't get chocolates because they're eaten by the time I give them to him.
Right, so all the chocolates are gone before you even get to hand him the box of chocolates?
Yeah.
Do you get him a card?
Yeah.
Right, does he?
Yeah, he gets me everything, he spoils me.
But you don't? You buy him a box of chocolates that you eat yourself?
Yeah. Well, this year I actually bought him a present, so it's a secret what I bought him, so to make up for it.
Well, tell us what it is.
I just bought him a picture album, and I just wrote all the nice things that we've done over the past 2 years, and every occasion I buy him a mug because he loves coffee, so I just buy him a mug for every occasion. So I bought him a nice Valentine's mug. And
you're not that bad after all. So what would it mean? What would it mean to him for a lovely romantic night out in the Radisson Blu Hotel?
I think it would mean everything to him because we haven't really done anything since last May was the last time we proper got away, and he deserves it. He works really hard all the time, and so.
All right, we'll be announcing the winner later on in the week, and we'll be in touch with you, Megan. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us. All right, and finally, Graham, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Graham?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, pal?
Now, you've been with herself for a number of years, married 2 years, but you're a total unromantic as well.
Yeah, I do. I try my hardest, and I do normally get her a card each year, but it normally comes a week after Valentine's,
Right. But then I heard what you did last year. This is bad now. Come on. What did you do last Valentine's Day?
I promised her the world. I promised her a lovely evening out. I promised her a night to remember. And at the very last minute, I got a Paul Weller ticket. He was playing down at the Olympia. So I went out with me pal, got drunk and went to the show.
So you had promised her a lovely romantic night out, and you went off and got pissed at a Paul Weller gig?
Yeah, that's the tall and short of it, yeah, 100%. I'm not proud of it now, but it was a great night.
Well, it says here on my sheet of paper, you don't regret your decision.
Well, as I say, it was a great show. I'm not going to lie, it was a brilliant show. So.
What would it mean to her if you were to bring her out on Thursday night to the Radisson Blu for dinner and a night over and all of that?
Do you know what? My wife, Geraldine, is the best wife in the world. She does everything for me and our 2 boys, and I would love to just give her one special night. She's not had the best of time in the last few years. I'd love to give her one special night. So it'd mean the world to her.
All right, well, we'll be announcing the winner later on in the week, Graham, and we'll be in touch with you. Well done. Thanks very much indeed. There you go. That's Graham. He's a brutal romantic. Ye all are, by the sounds of it. Thank you very much indeed. That competition is now closed. We will be announcing the winners later on in the week. Now, that is it from us for today. Thanks very much indeed for listening. We're back with you again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. If you want to get in contact with us, send us an email to dublintalks@98fm.com or a private message through facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. Have a great Monday. I'll talk to you 10 o'clock in the morning. Barry Dunn is on the way from Dundrum Town Centre, and in the next hour is some great music lined up like these.
You got that power over me. My mind.
98 FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.